So some specifications for the amp. It first left the factory on the 1st of October in 1998. The previous owner toured around the USA, so I'm told, so the amp actually came with a flight case as well, which is pretty cool. So this is one of Mesa Boogie's early incantations of the dual rectifier, and it's a 2-channel amp, so there's an orange channel and a red channel. There's a choice of clean or vintage high gain on the orange channel, and there's blues or modern high gain on the red channel. It has 6L6 power tubes, but it can also use EL34s. It's a 2x12 combo, and it looks like it's got the original Celestion Vintage 30 speakers in there as well, which is cool. On the back, you've also got the classic choice of bold or spongy, and you can change the rectification from tube to diode or vice versa. There is spring reverb on this amp as well, so there's a spring reverb tank at the very bottom of the amp, and you can assign that to each channel as well. And you can also assign tremolo onto each channel as well, hence the name of this amp, the TREM-O-VERB. So before we get into some tones, I thought it'd be worthwhile telling you how everything is hooked up. So I'm currently not using the amp's speakers at all. They are bypassed and they're going into the Notes Captor X. So any of the sounds that you're hearing, I'm using an IR loader, and the speaker response is coming from that IR loader essentially. So it's going into the DAW, which means I can play with headphones on. My children are asleep right now, so I'm not making any noise apart from guitar strings. So that is what you're currently hearing. So I thought I'd go through a couple of riffs from kind of each album that might use the TREM-O-VERB on. So let's start with S.C.I.E.N.C.E and let's go through Glass. Let's try the intro kind of riff for that. So I'm on the orange channel and I'm on the clean setting, and let's kick on the Gonkulator. Here we go. Pretty cool. Now let's go same song, but we'll do sort of the chorus riff with some distortion on. So this is on the red channel, and this is using the high gain, modern high gain setting. As you can hear, it rips. It definitely rips. I've had the amp probably about a week now, and I've been playing around trying to get different tones for it. One interesting thing that I don't know if this is because I'm using an impulse response with this amp or not, but it's very, very bass heavy. I mean, I know these amps are bass heavy, but if I've got an EQ pedal on right now, if I turn it off and play that same riff, can hear how muddy that is. So on the EQ pedal, I'm taking out a lot of the 100 and 200 hertz just to take out that woofiness. So here it is without and with. So you can hear there that it really takes out that muddiness and cleans it up a lot. I would suggest listening with headphones or some good speakers or something. You're probably not going to hear too much of a difference if you're just listening to your phone, but through my headphones, it's hugely different. And let's kind of now go through maybe the chorus for New Skin or something. So you can hear it does that aggressive thing so nicely. You've got that kind of nice high end with the really fat low end. It's a very naturally scooped sound on the dual rectifier, and the mids are scooped a tiny bit on the amp, but just naturally they have that very scooped sound. So I'm not having to go in with EQs and try and EQ the heck out of the guitar sound like I have done in previous videos. It's just, that is the sound, which is awesome. One other thing to mention, in my DAW, I do have an EQ on, which has got a high pass and a low pass filter on it, just to get rid of some of the top end and fizz, and to get some of the sort of low end rumble out as well. So it's around sort of 50, 60 hertz for the low end, or for the high pass, and for the low pass, it's about at 10 kilohertz, something like that. Now, one of my favorite things that this amp does, and I've just gone back to the orange channel, but I've flicked it down to vintage high gain. If you think of the song Privilege, check this out. that's worth the price of the amp alone. That vintage high gain sound is that sound. It's so quick to dial in. I'm probably pushing up the mids and the bass a lot more because of the EQ pedal. Ideally, I would not have that pedal, and I'd like to try it just recording through the speakers itself to see if I get any different tonal variations, but it's pretty close without having to do too much, which is incredible. Going from there, I've switched the amp back to the clean setting again on the orange channel, and just to mess around with kind of the stellar riff. And then of course, when you kick it over to the modern high gain again, it sounds so good. It sounds awesome. And finally, for sort of morning view kind of sounds, it's back on the orange channel and the vintage high gain. This covers so much territory, and it's kind of, again, almost instant, that tone. So the Wish You Were Here intro kind of riff, for example, sounds like this. Pretty nice. And lastly, if I add some delay and the Phase 90, we play this. Again, if I turn those off and then carry on that riff, etc., etc. I could play that all day long. It sounds so good. I think to sum this all up, my first impression of the amp was when I first plugged into it, it took a while to dial it in and to really figure out what I was listening for and to get it sounding right. But since then, as I say, it's been about a week. I'm incredibly happy with it. It sounds amazing. It pretty much, I'm using my Ibanez RG, not a PRS, nothing like that. Although I do have something cool to share with you guys about that at some point soon. But for now, I'm using my Ibanez, I think these are sort of medium output pickups. They're not super hot or anything. And I think Mike's PRS, certainly for morning view, was obviously a lot cooler. It doesn't have loads of whines on the pickup, so it's not pushing the amp really, really hard. And that coupled with the TREM-O-VERB dual rectifier from Mesa just sounds absolutely awesome. So I'm thrilled to bits with it. I'm going to do some more videos about maybe how we can get some amp sims and stuff, if we can get in the ballpark of these tones. Now that I have one, I have something to compare it against too, which will be quite fun. Play some different guitars through it, lots of different stuff. So thank you for checking this one out. I'll see you in the next one.